Good morning, everyone. Hello. Good morning. Hello. I love how you all have clicked on this video after it's been posted. Sorry, didn't mean to kick the desk. Because apparently not a lot of people tend to watch the broadcasts after they've finished, which is homophobic. I'm just kidding. Hello. How's everyone doing? Ooh, do we have a lot to get to today? Ooh, the drama, the bromance, the breakup, it is all so real. And, politics these days is just such a work of fiction. Like you would, if you were to tell someone 12 years ago that this would be our reality, people would be like, what? And yet, here we are. So, anyway, hello, everyone. Hello! Good morning, Cantiguan. How are you? I appreciate every single one of you in here, even if you haven't arrived yet, because that's the kind of person I am. So, I just want to say, I've been kind of going through the motions, and there's a couple personal housekeeping things. I've been going through the emotions, I should say, with my new streaming setup, my new platform here. And it has been a journey. Tears have been shed. And it's a lot of process. There's a lot of moving parts here. And I'm still trying to figure out how to go about the new setup, because I feel like something did need to change. I do miss my old setup where I was much bigger on the screen. I think that really did get people's attention. So, maybe I could just make myself a little bit bigger and make this just a little smaller. And I think that kind of, people miss that. So, hey, babes, I used to watch you on TikTok and was a mod for you. Hello! I'm so glad that you're here. I've been trying to figure out my new streaming setup ever since TikTok basically has imploded. And it's been a journey. So I hear a lot of the real content creators these days are on YouTube. So that's why I decided to pivot. And ever since that TikTok was actually banned for like that 24, 48, 72 hours, I was like, oh, I really need to get off this platform. Like it sent shockwaves through me. And I'm like, okay. This is a permanent thing. And then eventually it was put back up, and I'm like, okay, well, my exit strategy, here I am going over to YouTube. So anyway, I'm glad that you're here. We have so much to talk about today. Please make sure to send some likes. The same type of vibe, the same type of critical news media journalism rooted in empathy is still here. So please make sure to engage. If you're a new viewer, make sure to say hello and where you're tuning in from. Quick little other housekeeping thing. I did invest in a mic. So that is exciting. This little content creator, we're going the miles. So I did invest in a mic. Hopefully it will be here either today or tomorrow and be used on either tomorrow or Friday's broadcast. So I'm really excited about that. And it's going to improve the audio quality of the stream. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. But nevertheless, let's just go ahead and get into the drama here, because, ooh, girl. Okay, here we go. Let me start recording here. Oh my goodness gracious. The reality could never. Fiction could never. Not reality can never, because reality can. Fiction could never, because this is where we are. Let me just lay it all out for you really quickly before I start into this here, okay? So Donald Trump decides to basically shaft this existing senator because he wasn't MAGA enough. And shafts him, even though that senator, John Cornyn, literally introduced a bill to rename a highway after Trump and was like, that's not good enough. They say that we want someone even better. You didn't vote with me on this one thing. So I'm just gonna, you don't matter anymore. So didn't didn't matter that John Cornyn literally sucked the toes, licked the feet, worshiped the man. How far was your face up there, dude? Because it didn't matter. All of the sucking up and you got zip. You got nothing. No wonder people say that Republicans are a cult, because as soon as Donald Trump makes an endorsement, and you're not that endorsement, it's over. It is over. And Republicans are like, we're not in a cult. We're not in a cult. Then why don't you go against what Donald Trump says? Why don't you go against it when you need to? So anyway, it's just, the drama. Okay, so let's break it all down here, shall we? Make sure to send some likes if you're enjoying the stream. If you're new here, make sure to say hello and where you're tuning in from. I do like to get to know new people. I like to say, come for the vibes, stay for the news. You do not have to agree with my takes. You don't have to agree with my opinions. Though I am just going to lay out some objective facts, because that's not up for debate, and we'll go from there. I appreciate every single one of you. Okay, here we go. Ken Paxton steamrolls John Cornyn in runoff after snagging Trump endorsement. This, inject it into my veins, because, oh my God, this drama, I'm living for it, not even gonna lie, okay? Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who is incredibly corrupt, has felony indictments, been impeached by his own party, has been through a nasty divorce, gone through major scandals. Trump's like, I want that guy. I want that guy. Who has more corruption? I want him. Listen, chap, you remind me of me, and we need more of Donald Trump. In this world, we need more of me. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton came out victorious on Tuesday in an expensive and contentious Senate primary runoff race, where President Donald Trump caused some concern within his own party over his endorsement. Oh, that's a very interesting way to word that, Mediaite. Oh, girl. Okay. The Associated Press called the race on Tuesday night, so election was yesterday, at approximately 9:01 p.m. Is that right when the polls closed? Because, with about 49% of the votes in, and Paxton sitting at just 500,000 and a lead of more than 25 percentage points. That's a blowout. That is a blowout, okay? Paxton received Trump's endorsement on May 19th, surprising some as he snubbed the man holding the seat, John Cornyn. Cornyn received most of the votes in the May 3rd primary, but rules dictated that the results meant a runoff election between him and second place finisher at the time, Ken Paxton. Why am I getting an ad for chairs? Okay, quick little aside here. I pay Mediaite a subscription. Right here, you see Mediaite Plus, and I still get an advertisement for chairs. I don't want to see chairs. Sorry, I just had a mild crash out for just a second. Cornyn was approximately 300 votes when the race was called. Paxton had approximately 63% of the vote at the time when the race was called, to roughly Cornyn's 37% of the vote. More than $100 trillion was spent on ads in the primary race. Now, you might be asking, okay, Scott, wait a minute, hold on, pause. So wait, there was an election, and then there was another election, and that's the other election is the one that matters? Yes. So before, there was a Republican Senate primary race where it included Ken Paxton, it included John Cornyn, and a guy named Wesley Hunt. And what ended up happening was no person in the race ended up getting a majority of the votes. So what ended up happening is it turned into a runoff between Ken Paxton and John Cornyn. And so the two candidates that got most of the votes then ascended and went to the runoff. And that's when Donald Trump decided to make an endorsement. And what's so interesting is what this really shows amongst Republican voters is that as soon as Donald Trump makes an endorsement, then people are going to follow his word like he's Lord Jesus, Dr. Jesus Christ. Because people voted for John Cornyn, and then if Trump had endorsed Cornyn, he probably would have won. It's possible he couldn't have. We will never know. But Donald Trump's word, his endorsement means that much to cultist Republicans. And then they're like, oh yeah, we're independent critical thinkers. Girl, don't even. Oh, geez Louise. Someone calls me gay in the chat. Yes. Thanks for noticing. What's also interesting is Trump had blasted Cornyn as frequently disloyal to him and his MAGA movement. This is what Trump ended up saying on his Truth Social. The highly respected Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, and America First patriot, and someone who's always been extremely loyal to me, and then our amazing MAGA movement is running for the United States Senate to represent a place that I won and love, and I won big 3 times. I know Ken well, and I've seen him, tested him at the highest and most difficult levels, and he's a winner. He's a winner. Ken is a strong supporter of terminating the filibuster, yada, 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 all this crap, yada, yada. I love all of you. I love Ken. He's amazing. Kissing in a tree. Let's do it, you know. But that's gay. That's woke. We can't do that. John Cornyn is a good man, and I worked well with him, but he betrayed me. He doesn't like me as much. I don't like him as much. But he was not supportive of me when times were tough. And despite having the most successful economy in the history of our country, you know, during my first term, and with all many other things that I accomplished, I need my hands because the Trump impression doesn't hit as well without the hands. Hold on. Hold my biscuit for just a second. Hold the biscuit. These are the hands you want to see. These are the hands. Listen, shout out to Erica. Erica over from TikTok for getting me these hands. Who knows if she still even watches me. Nevertheless, John Cornyn, you know, he didn't support me when times got tough, and so I decided to endorse someone else. Even though John Cornyn decided to sponsor a bill to rename a highway after me, that's laudable. Of course, I hope he does. You know, I hope it gets passed. I support Ken Paxton. Oh, it's just so humiliating for him. Oh. Ken Paxton has gone through a lot, in many cases, very unfairly. But he is a fighter and knows how to win. Our country needs fighters. Our country, you're sponsoring the person who's been indicted and impeached by his own party. Girl. That wasn't even the only thing. So, Texas, remember, Ken Paxton was a great attorney general, probably the best in the country. Even though he was impeached by the Republican Party because of felony indictments and scandal and corruption, you know, he's still the greatest. I see myself, you know, I see a little bit of myself in Ken Paxton. I see, oh, there's corruption there? Check. Nasty divorce? Check. Problems with women? Check. I see indictments. I see corruption. I see punishing whistleblowers. I see stealing. I see all of this, you know, check. He checks all of my boxes. Even the ones down there. Checks all of my boxes. Like, seriously, the reason why Donald Trump endorsed Ken Paxton is because he sees himself. He's like, you know, Ken, I see a little bit of myself in you. You're corrupt. You have trouble with women. You've been impeached. My heart goes out to you. Let's endorse you. Now, I'm not a fan of John Cornyn at all. I think he's a hollow husk of a man. But also at the same time, like, imagine literally coddling Trump's balls that much by trying to rename a highway after the man, and you still aren't enough to get an endorsement. Injected into my veins. The drama is too good. Sorry, I'm just laughing about it as a progressive independent, just watching this from afar. I'm just like, get your popcorn, honey, because, ooh, nom, 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 nom. If you're enjoying the vibes, please make sure to send some likes, because I surely am. Now, you're like, oh, well, this is really bad. Like, Trump endorsed someone who, is an obvious felon, indicted. We'll talk about Ken Paxton and all of his bribery, all of his scandals, all of his corruption here in a minute. And, like, you're like, Scott, why are you laughing so much? Because you have to laugh through these crazy times in order to stay a little bit sane. You have to laugh at the insanity that is Donald Trump. Otherwise, you're just going to then become defeated. Also, I think that instead of just calling out the corruption, I'm sorry, but I'm not above shaming people if they do awful things. I'm not even gonna lie. I've gotten to the point where, I'm a very, very empathetic. But you also have to know where to place that empathy. You don't give excessive amounts of empathy to people who are corrupt because they are shown to literally misplace your empathy, misplace your trust. So I'm not above literally shaming these people for their blatant corruption, their disregard for other people's human rights, their absolute betrayal of the American interests of the actual working class people. Like, so sorry, that this little empathetic gay guy, like, sorry, I gotta place my empathy where I know it's going to be received well. So yeah, sorry. Now, all of this gets even better because Ken Paxton is literally he's so corrupt, cartoonishly corrupt. Thank you all for sending likes in the chat. Ken Paxton is so corrupt. He was impeached by his own party. Do you know how bad you have to be impeached by Republicans? Right? Like, imagine. Trump loyalist Ken Paxton dubbed the most corrupt politician in America. Yeah, why don't we endorse him? And he wins handily in a Texas Senate primary. Injected into my veins. Ken Paxton embodies the broken political system that we're running against, said James Tallarico, the Democratic nominee for the Senate seat. Ken Paxton, the scandal-plagued Texas Attorney General backed by President Trump, handily won in a U.S. Senate primary runoff on Tuesday, ousting incumbent Senator John Cornyn, who literally wrote a bill to have a highway renamed after Donald Trump, and that still wasn't enough. And, all of this being said, Ken Paxton incredibly corrupt. He embodies the broken political system that we're running against, said James Tallarico. And that is exactly the problem with our politics. It's puppet politicians who serve themselves and their billionaire mega donors instead of serving us. It's why we can't afford anything. It's why we can't get ahead no matter how hard we work. Facts. The system is rigged by corrupt politicians like Ken Paxton. And so it's going to be all of us. It's going to be Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. It's going to be urban Texans, rural Texans, suburban Texans. It's going to be all of us coming together. The people versus Ken Paxton. Now, I want James Tallarico to go even further with his criticisms, but also and be even more progressive. Nevertheless, he's spitting facts there. It is the people versus Ken Paxton. U.S. Representative Greg Casar, who I personally really like, a Democrat of Texas, the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, echoed Tallarico, dubbing Paxton the most corrupt politician in America, and adding, calling Ken Paxton just a crook is like calling Texas summers a little bit warm. Oof. The guy makes Richard Nixon look like a Boy Scout. Oh, damn. We cannot allow him to become a United States Senator. The Texas Tribune noted in its full coverage of the primary outcome that Paxton is known for his unchecked history of personal ethics and legal troubles. He was once indicted for felony securities fraud charges that were later dropped and impeached by the Republican-controlled Texas House of Representatives for corruption and abuse of office, and acquitted by the Republican majority in the Senate. And he has come under fire for alleged infidelity and accumulation of assets during his time in office. A Wall Street Journal report published last year detailed how Paxton went from being middle-class lawyer to multi-millionaire during his first 2 decades on a public official's salary. And of course, that's something that Donald Trump looks at and was like, more of that, please. More of that. We need more corruption. Seriously. You can look at Donald Trump's endorsement as whoever is the most corrupt most indicted, most controversial language, most vitriol towards women. Like, whenever Trump makes an endorsement, that is immediately signaling to you who is the more corrupt person. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just putting that out there. What does he do that makes it so corrupt? Glad you asked. Let's actually look at it. So I can show you the AI overview, and then I'll get into the specifics. Securities and fraud indictments, whistleblower and scandal and impeachment, a whistleblower lawsuit, and also alleged infidelity with his wife, leading to a nasty public divorce. Let me give you a timeline. Ken Paxton is a no stranger to controversy. Here's a timeline of nearly 20 years of scandals. You asked for it, and you're about to get it. Let's go. Let's go. All right, 2008. Girl, that feels so long ago. That was Obama years. Jeez Louise. Okay. Trump getting mood swings. Yeah, mood swings, but not the playset kind. He gets all of those. When Paxton was a Texas House member representing McKinney in 2008, the Associated Press reported that he had another lawmaker had investments in a company that got millions from state contracts. Contracts that Paxton had voted on through state spending bills. Paxton had profited from those contracts that WatchGuard, a video equipment company that supplies police stations, secured while he was in office. His investment in that company came to light after a competing company sued, saying the contract bidding was rigged in Watchdog's favor. So he's basically using his position of power to literally push through deals and get state contracts for another lawmaker and benefit himself financially. Okay, yeah, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but like, I come to expect it at this point. I come to expect it, which is so unfortunate because, you know, we should have leaders, regardless of their political affiliation. We should have leaders that don't do that. You know, and unfortunately you see corruption on both sides of the aisle, but let me make one thing effing clear. You do not have this blatant scandal, this blatant hypocrisy, this blatant corruption, this bad on the Democrat side. At least they try to hide it. At least they try to water it down a little bit. But when you want to look at the raw numbers of corrupt scandals coming from Republicans versus Democrat, it is so laughable to try and say, like, well, both sides do it because it's so much more on one side. It doesn't negate the crap that Democrats do. Sure, the insider trading, not great. Prediction markets, yeah, also not great. But when you want to look at how much, like, the capacity for Republican corruption versus Democrat corruption, it's so laughable to even say that both sides do it because it's Republicans way more, like, objectively looking at it. And when Texas voters confirm and put someone in the Senate that literally has outstanding levels of corruption, I mean, how am I supposed to take you seriously when you're like, oh, Donald Trump's fighting the corruption? Donald Trump is the corruption! He is the corruption! He puts in place and endorses people who are corrupt and pardons them! How am I supposed to take you seriously? Dude. Paxton claimed he had no knowledge of the company's state contracts at the time. He's like, I didn't know about that. That's crazy. That would have been required to disclose to the Texas Ethics Commission under state law. However, Associated Press reported that WatchGuard's website boasted the company was held by an influential shareholder group that includes 3 state representatives. Yeah, I mean, it's just wild. According to the Wall Street Journal, after coming under scrutiny, Paxton shifted his investments, including WatchGuard, into a blind trust. A blind trust is an account managed by a third-party trustee without the beneficiary's knowledge in order to prevent a conflict of interest. Good. However, the Journal uncovered text between Paxton and the trustee, who is a friend, concerning his stock trades in 2020. A violation of the blind nature of the agreement. So, the corruption never stops. And Paxton received nearly $2.2 million in his investment from WatchGuard when the company was bought in 2019. Stealing another lawyer's pen. Okay, this is a little bit petty, though I'm kind of living for it. Make sure to send some likes if you appreciate every single, if you appreciate it. Okay, 2013, he steals someone else's pen. Is that a metaphor? What kind of pen, are we talking about? After a $1,000, oh my God, how expensive is that dang ink? Mont Blanc pen was mistakenly left by one lawyer in a metal detector tray at a courthouse. It found its way into the hands of then State Senator Ken Paxton. Stealing another lawyer's pen? Okay. That is weak potatoes. I'm not even gonna lie. The expensive ballpoint had been a gift to Attorney General Joe Joplin from his wife, and after he realized it was missing, asked a sheriff to review the security footage. The footage revealed Paxton had pocketed Joplin's pen, the sheriff told the news. After a phone call, Paxton returned the pen to Joplin. Okay, that's like... Could it have just been like, oh, I see this pen, like, this looks nice, I'm just going to take it? Or was it nefarious? I truly don't know. I was mistakenly left in a metal detector tray at a courthouse. I don't think that that's really a big deal. I'm not even going to lie. I can't stand Ken Paxton. Let's skip over that because that doesn't deserve a lot of validity. I mean, who's to say that other people wouldn't do the same thing if you just saw a pen that was just left in a tray? Like, you would probably be like, oh, maybe I'll take that because that looks like a nice pen. Finders keepers. Like, I mean, what's it? Yeah. So another thing, securities fraud charges. This is another thing. This is a bigger thing. Can this one person in the chat literally just calm down? Like, genuinely, if you're watching this live chat, this one person going on and on, like, literally, breathe, dude. Take a minute and, like, let your fingers rest. Like, you are rage typing, honey. Okay, 2015. Another thing that makes Ken Paxton incredibly corrupt is the security fraud charges. The year Paxton assumed the office of Attorney General also kicked off a 9-year legal saga over securities fraud felony charges. Paxton was indicted in the late summer of 2015 over accusations of defrauding investors, according to Cornyn. I don't know what, that's interesting. Is this like a publication? Anyway, the charges stem from accusations that Paxton had encouraged other legislators to invest in McKinney-based company Severgy? I can't English. Severgy in 2021. No, in 2011. Sorry, dyslexia. Without telling them that he would make a commission. Okay, so he's telling this person to invest in it and then he's going to personally profit. Love that. Paxton allegedly misrepresented himself as an investor in the company, which was charged with fraud by the U.S. Security Exchange in 2016. Paxton and Republican supporters painted the 2015 indictment as a partisan attack by Democrats. Oh my God. Sorry, I don't care what someone's political affiliation is. If there's corruption there, there's corruption there. Jeez Louise. Jim Henson, head of Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas, Austin, told Cornyn at the time their arguments would be difficult to uphold and the legal charges unfolded. It's going to be a little harder to sustain the argument that this was politically motivated prosecution at the time. But my suspicion is that we will not see the Attorney General going particularly quiet into the night. Paxton, indeed, did not go quietly. After pleading not guilty to the charges, the case was stalled over disputes on how much the prosecutors should be paid, following pushback by commissioners in Paxton's hometown of Collin County, according to the Associated Press. After 9 years, during which time Paxton was reelected as Attorney General, Paxton struck a deal with prosecutors, agreeing to pay around $300,000 in restitution and do community service with a local food pantry. Jeez Louise. So he's just getting off scot-free. FBI investigation into bribery and abusive office accusations. Here's where I think this gets even more important. A group of conservative attorneys who worked in Paxton's office reported him to the FBI in 2020, accusing him of bribery and also an abusive office. Love that. Now, the FBI began looking into the claims. Sorry, I need to adjust my camera over here. Began looking into the claims that Paxton had misused his office to aid a friend and political donor, Nate Paul, a wealthy real estate developer. The attorneys from Paxton's office claimed Paxton hired an outside lawyer to investigate Paul's claims the FBI had improperly searched his home, according to the Associated Press. Paul also said in a deposition that Paxton recommended he hire a woman with whom Paxton had an affair, of course, Paul had then been hit with felony wire fraud charges. So, of course, he does corruption. After the allegations spurred an investigation and subsequent impeachment trial in 2023, the FBI investigation changed hands from Texas federal prosecutors to Justice Department officials in D.C. And in late 2024, the Justice Department quietly declined to continue pursuing the case, according to the Associated Press, putting to bed yet another high-stakes probe in the Texas politician, where he was also sued for firing the whistleblowers. Yeah, you can't fire a whistleblower. That's bad. You can't do that. Yet, he tried, and of course, it's shows how corrupt he is. The lawsuit made its way to Texas Supreme Court in 2023 before Paxton agreed to pay the attorneys $3.3 million and issue an apology, according to the Texas Tribune. Here's the thing about this. You can do securities fraud, have felony indictments, personally profit from office, and then when the punishment is, you have to pay a fine, or you have to pay restitution, or you have to pay something, like pay millions of dollars and issue an apology, that's not a real punishment. If I go and end up personally profiting off of office in the tunes of millions of dollars, and then my punishment is having to do an apology and pay a fine, that's not a real punishment to stop someone from wanting to do it again. Because it's kind of like a tax. You're like, it's a tax for doing crime. You're like, it's a tax for being caught doing crime. It's not a real punishment. That doesn't actually really show you and give you a lesson. So, I'm sorry, it's just so stupid. It's so frustrating. It's a lot like when a kid will steal a whole bunch of candy and then have to pay a candy tax to the people, to the collective group, be like, oh yeah, well, I'm sorry, I stole all this candy, but here, you know what, you can have some of it back. No, you have to be taught a real lesson. Of course, contesting 2020 election results, another example, of course. And they want to claim that we cheat, right? The impeachment trial, yeah. So this guy was impeached by his own party for misusing his office to aid with Nate Paul's legal issues. And the Texas State House, which is Republican controlled, impeached Paxton, suspending him from office, marking only the third time in history the legislative body has impeached an official. And of course, we can get into the divorce and infidelity. In July 2025, the Attorney General's wife, State Senator Angela Paxton, told the social media that she was filing a divorce. Today, after 38 years of marriage, I filed for divorce on biblical grounds, she told in her post. I believe marriage is a sacred covenant and I have earnestly pursued reconciliation. Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that Donald Trump decided to endorse Ken Paxton because, he looks for the person who is the most corrupt. And when Donald Trump makes an endorsement, of course, Republican voters are going to say, oh, okay, daddy, I'll follow what you say. Not even thinking about who they are actually supporting. It's like Republicans choose to vote for the most corrupt person, and it's crazy. So, anyway, y'all, please make sure to send some likes. I appreciate every single one of you. You all are amazing. Let's move to talk a little bit more about the specific drama between this, okay? So we just covered how corrupt Ken Paxton actually is. Let's cover the drama that is seemingly unfolded here because it is too good. It is too good. Ken Paxton steamrolls John Cornyn in runoff after snagging Trump endorsement. If you are new here, please make sure to say hello in the chat and where you're tuning in from. I do like to get to know new people. And the drama is just too good to pass up, okay? Of course, Donald Trump rage typing about how, Ken Paxton, he's a man after my own heart, He's super corrupt, and I see a little bit of myself in him. I want that fantasy. Come here, Kenny G. Come here. Actually, I'm going to call him Kenny P. Kenny P. My little boy down in Texas. He's an amazing guy. Don't care that he's super, super corrupt, impeached by his own party. has been disloyal to his wife. You know, that doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter that John Cornyn literally wrote a bill to rename a highway after me. It doesn't matter. You know, I'm supporting him. I can just scroll through X Twitter, and I mean, you can see some of the ads here, but I want to play this for you here.
Just caught up with Senator Cornyn himself, and I asked him about the decision by his campaign, by him, to continue to attack Paxton on the final days of this campaign. Paxton himself, after that Trump endorsement, decided to go positive, try to focus on the general election, called on Cornyn to unite behind him. Cornyn said no, and I asked him why he decided to
Here we go, hold on.
after Paxton, who is now the favorite headed into tonight.
I think there's a good chance he might not win, and I think there's an even better chance that he would help weigh down people down the ticket.
If he's a nominee.
If he's a nominee.
How much would you expect Republicans to have to pour into the state if he's the nominee?
If he's a nominee, hundreds of millions, several hundred millions of dollars.
Versus you?
Versus me, we can do it on our own. We don't need outside help.
Paxton will call for you guys to go positive in these final days of the campaign. You decided not to continue to attack him. Why?
Well, I think it's time for accountability. He's gotten away with so much for so long and not been held accountable for it. But I think he is an embarrassment, his misbehavior, and he's completely unrepentant. I mean, it's one thing for a person to make a mistake and then say, you know, I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. But that's not Ken Paxton.
Okay. Wait a minute. So, he's rightfully calling out the corruption of Ken Paxton. Though, let me point out this here.
Tonight, we've come up short in this primary runoff. You know, a few years ago, I had a friend of mine say, you know what makes God laugh? He said, when we make plans. I've spent most of my time in this.
You know what also makes God laugh? The fact that you are now endorsing someone that you dragged constantly.
Building the Republican Party in Texas and in the U.S. Senate, and I've always supported the Republican ticket, and I intend to do so again in this general election. I've said.
This is why, and I'm not a fan of Paxton, after you obviously saw earlier in the video, this is why people don't like politicians. Because they speak out of both sides of their mouth. How can you say it's time for accountability for someone like Ken Paxton and then turn around and say, I've always supported the Republican ticket? Dude! The only person that apparently gets away with that kind of crap, or the only kinds of people that get away with that kind of crap, are Republicans. Because Republican voters are too stupid to literally see the corruption for what it is. I'm astounded. I'm astounded. Like, how can people get away with this kind of crap? How can people get away with this? Like, seriously, the people who look at this and don't see a problem at all, girl, I have questions, I have problems, I have concerns for you.
Throughout this race that I trust the voters of Texas, and they've made their decision, and I must respect it.
Except you don't have to respect the decision. Like, you are allowed to not respect the decision. They chose a felon. They chose someone who has been disloyal to his own wife, cheated on his own wife. They chose someone who has been indicted over bribery charges, securities fraud. They chose someone who's been impeached by the Texas House of Representatives over this milquetoast husk of, like, Republican version of Biden. Like, you're allowed to be upset about it. But also, again, what an absolute hypocrite. Because he's going from like, you know, we need accountability. We need accountability here.
Help weigh down people down the ticket.
If he's a nominee.
If he's a nominee.
How much would you expect Republicans to have to pour into the state if he's a nominee?
If he's a nominee, hundreds of millions, several hundred millions of dollars.
Versus you?
versus me, we can do it on our own. We don't need outside help.
Paxton will call for you guys to go positive in these final days of the campaign. You decided not to continue to attack him. Why?
Well, I think it's time for accountability. He's gotten away with so much for so long and not been held accountable for it. But I think he is an embarrassment, his misbehavior, and he's completely unrepentant. I mean, it's one thing for a person to make a mistake and then say, I'm sorry, I'll do better next.
Do these people not understand the depths of their own hypocrisy? Genuinely asking. Because you're going from saying he's unrepentant, it's time for accountability, he's an embarrassment, to then saying, I support the Republican ticket.
I've spent most of my time in the Senate building the Republican Party in Texas and in the U.S. Senate, and I've always supported the Republican ticket. And
What? I'm gonna get a noise complaint from my neighbors. Like, what is this? What? Oh my God. Let's just look at Twitter. Hold on. Let's just look at this. Okay? This is what it's like.
Paxton, that's your name, right? This guy, he tag teamed my favorite pillowcase with me. Nobody gives a shit, John.
99% loyal.
Paxton, that's your name, right? This guy, he tag teamed my favorite pillowcase with me. Nobody gives a shit, John.
99% loyal.
Paxton, that's your name, right? This guy, he tag teamed my favorite pillowcase with me. Nobody gives a shit, John.
99% loyal.
Paxton.
That's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, girl. It's so embarrassing.
Introduced legislation. Texas Senator John Cornyn has introduced legislation to rename a state highway Trump Interstate because for some reason people associate Trump with traffic across state lines. Texas Senator John Cornyn has introduced legislation to rename a state highway Trump.
Oh my God. Jeez Louise. Yeah, was it worth it, dude? Was it worth it? Literally doing all of this. God. So embarrassing. Yeah, he introduces a bill to designate a highway as Interstate 47 in honor of Trump and still doesn't get the endorsement. Still doesn't get it. That's just so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Hold on. I'm going to be a little vulnerable here, okay? This is the masterpiece that I created for the live cover today, okay? On my Canva. It's a lot like this. I'm going to make myself smaller here for a second. Hold on. I use Canva for a lot of my stuff, okay? President Trump, Texas loves you. Please rename a highway. Please let me rename a highway after you. It will be so huge. It will be an honor, sir. Please. He'll love this. I'm so loyal. The most loyal senator in Texas. And there's the Senate bill. And of course, Ken Paxton indicted on felony counts of securities fraud. And, Trump decides to endorse Ken Paxton anyway. And then this is what it's like. It's like, I see myself in you. Listen, you're going far. You're going far. You have awful things to say about women. You have securities fraud. I don't care that this groveler decides to lick my feet, lick my toes, rename a highway after me. I'm going to go for you. Because at least you're more corrupt. At least you're crazier. outside, So 37 indictments and I get nothing. Yeah, That's how it really is, y'all. That's how it really is. I just get so embarrassed for this country. You tried to kiss Trump's ASS so hard, and he still picked someone else over you. Will you spineless Republican senators ever learn? No. No, they will not learn. They will never learn. Also, I found this interesting. Really quickly before I move on to the next segment here. Hold on.
This is the sound of Texas. And this is how it sounds under Ken Paxton.
So this was a Republican ad. This was a Republican ad against Ken Paxton. The Republican Party deleted their ad attacking Ken Paxton's own record on crime. Sorry, I didn't show it in the video here. Homicides are highest in nearly 30 years under Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is now the GOP's nominee to represent Texas in the U.S. Senate.
So, which Texas do you want to hear?
I want to see, hold on. I want to see paid for by the NRSC, not authorized by any candidate. The NRSC is the National Republican Senate Committee. Yeah, the National Republican Senate Committee. Not paid for by any candidate. So it must have been this, it must have been like senators in D.C. didn't want Ken Paxton. Interesting. Not paid for by any one candidate. Yet obviously, you know, Senator John Cornyn, you know, was the favorite amongst the senators. So yeah, it's always important to look beneath here to see who's the bill sponsored by. Oop, let's not do that. Hold on. Let me resize this back again. Give me a second. Oh my God, streamer issues. Streamer trouble. Ah! There we go. This is also interesting.
Ken Paxton's flaws and the baggage he brings to the general election is going to be exploited to the fullest by James Tallarico and by Democrats. James Tallarico raised $27 million in just the first quarter of this year. Ken Paxton's flaws and the...
I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. Cornyn was paid for by John Thune. I mean, no one's voting Democrat. There are people that are voting Democrat. Don't say no one. But, you know, like, you had a lot of senators that were in D.C. obviously wanted John Cornyn to stay in there. And that's honestly how it always seems to go. That's how it always seems to go. Let me give you a little bit more. Hold on, where was it? Where was it? I think it was on this article. Maybe it was on this one. Hold on. Here it is. Sorry, it's not sized correctly. Hold on, give me a second. Streamer troubles. Y'all, please make sure to send some likes. I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are amazing. I hope that what I say is come for the vibes, stay for the news. Because I think that I make it fun. I think that I make it informative and fun. And we're going to move on to the next story here in a minute. But it's just interesting because Senator John Cornyn, after losing, was like, or right before losing, was like, I think it's time for some accountability. He's gotten away with so much for so long and not been held accountable for it. And now he's like, I've always supported the Republican ticket. Girl. And of course, Ken Paxton has been favorited by people in, or not Ken Paxton, sorry. John Cornyn has been favorited by people in the Texas Senate. John Hoeven, a Republican from North Dakota, said, oh boy. Well, I obviously support Senator Cornyn. Senator Roger Wicker, Republican from Mississippi. MS, is that Mississippi or Missouri? No, Missouri is M-O. Yeah. Mississippi refused to even answer questions about it. However, Lisa Murkowski went so far to say that the president's endorsement risks losing seats. And this is the thing. Regardless, and this is a pattern here. regardless of political affiliation, you have senators supporting the other incumbents within their own caucus. That's just a thing. And if/when I'm ever elected to office, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let that sway me. Or I hope I'm not going to let that sway me. Because it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat. It's like all these, your group, put yourself in the senator's shoes for a second. I know. Just put yourself in the senator's shoes for a second. Let's say that someone's running for re-election. You have to work with them. You work with them on pushing through legislation, getting votes on things. It can be awkward to like not endorse them. But at the same time, you know, you got to be willing to take a stand. You got to be willing to like call balls and strikes the way that you need to. And so a lot of incumbents within DC, regardless of their political affiliation, will endorse the existing people there as a way to build relationships with them. Now, that's not a defense. That's not a defense of them at all. But also at the same time, like, just because they are the people that are there doesn't mean those are the people you should endorse. So it's all interesting there. But of course, John Cornyn says that he's going to support Ken Paxton after that defeat. Nevertheless, let's move on to the next topic here. I appreciate every single one of you. Let me X out some of my tabs up here. All right. Give me a second. Wow, that was a long segment. That was around 50 minutes. Jeez Louise. So what I do during these live streams is I start and I clip certain sections and then I edit it down into a video. And I just posted a lot of new videos, 3 of them actually. So please go and check those out. I'm really trying to work on building up my community here. So y'all are incredible. Nevertheless, let's get to the next story here because it's not great. It's not great. How many people we got in here? 29? Oh, it's a little lower today, but that's okay. I love all of you. Hello. Is this anyone's first time in the chat here? Is this anyone's first time? Y'all, please make sure to send some likes. Y'all are appreciated. I really enjoyed yesterday's live stream. I'm enjoying today's live stream. As a content creator, sometimes I get in my own head as to, oh, am I doing this right? Or am I doing this right? And I appreciate every single one of you being in here. It literally means the world. I'm still debating on how to approach my live. I want to ask really, really quickly here. Maybe I can launch a poll. Hold on. Engage with your audience. Start a poll. Should I do my live stream in a vertical format or a horizontal format? Which do you think would be better? Which do you prefer? Stream in vertical format. Stream in horizontal format. There's no correct answer here. There's no correct answer here. But I'm really, really curious as to what you all think. And I do want to get some people's thoughts about it because I'm thinking about shifting from vertical to horizontal. Here's the thing. What I've been able to gather is vertical format is very similar to the way I used to do my live streams. Horizontal might be better for making more content videos wise, but I hear vertical is better for reaching people. So I'm really, really curious as to what you all think. Put it in the chat below. I'm really curious before I dive into this story here. I need y'all's feedback. Labor strike, what kind of a dumb, what? Yeah, it's a labor strike. We're going to talk about it here. We'll talk about it, but I need y'all's feedback really, really quickly. What do you all think? There's no correct answer. I see people saying vertical format too. Okay, interesting. We have 4 votes here. I will say that I would be a little bit, I'm kind of, it's different. It's different for streamers to do vertical format. And It's kind of similar to the way I used to do my TikTok. I think it's today's topic. Yeah. Is there a way to rename the name of the live stream while I am live? That's interesting. Seeing more people say vertical format. That's interesting. Interesting. There's no correct answer. Please just let me know. Also, I'm thinking about doing reactions to different videos, whether it's political or not, and also maybe considering gaming. So how would y'all feel about that? Okay. Well, I'm going to keep the poll up there, but I'm going to minimize it. So, okay. Let's go ahead and get into this here. Please make sure to send some likes. I appreciate every single one of you. It's different from others. Yeah, and I'm wondering if me being different from others is a setback or if it is an asset. I'm wondering if it would make me stand out from the crowd in a good way, or if it would hinder me because horizontal streaming is what everyone else does, and that might also be a way to get more people to join the fun community. So, all right, let's get into this story here. ICE. F ICE. 100%. Just F them, okay? They are absolute thugs that are going around ripping apart communities. You can still believe in a strong border, strong security. You know, you want to have people vetted and all that stuff. But going and doing it through ICE, that's just not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. You are ripping apart families and communities in the most brutal, genocidistic way ever. And why? Why? Is your hatred that strong, yet you call yourself a Christian? I'm sorry, but you cannot support ICE and Christianity at the same time. You can't. Jesus was an immigrant. He didn't belong to any specific state. He was an immigrant that transcended borders. He talked about welcoming the sojourner. And like the Bible talks about welcoming the stranger. I find it baffling that all these Republican, you're only a Republican, I guess, and only a Christian in culture only, where you go to church and like have your prayer groups and all that stuff. Does that actually, you don't actually follow the word of God in that instance because you literally go against it. Nevertheless, let's talk about ICE here for a little bit. Protests erupt at New Jersey Detention Center in support of hunger striking detainees. Some 300 detainees launched a hunger and labor strike on Friday in protest of the conditions at the ICE jail. Protests erupted Sunday night outside of Delaney Hall Immigrant Jail in Newark, New Jersey, when Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, moved to transfer a strike leader from the jail. Some 300 detainees launched a hunger and labor strike on Friday. In protest of the conditions at the ICE jail. Gabriela Soto, Martin's wife, saw ICE agents loading Martin into a van and ran to block the van that held her husband from leaving. Other demonstrators joined in blocking the van from leaving the facility and forced it back to the detention facility. Protesters formed a blockade for hours to prevent Martin Soto from being moved. Free Martin, the protesters chanted, free them all. Later, around 1 a.m. on Monday, agents began to move a caravan of vehicles out of the facility, and protesters again attempted to block the vehicles from leaving. ICE agents then shoved aside protesters, pushing them against the sidewalk and against cars, and pepper sprayed at least one protester. It's just, here's the thing. It ended up that one of the ICE agents ended up pepper spraying a U.S. senator in this whole kerfuffle. Let me break it down. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, terrorist thugs, agents pepper sprayed Senator Andy Kim, a Democrat from New Jersey, and protesters on Monday in Newark. Demonstrators gathered outside Delaney Hall. We just covered that. According to NewJersey.com, Kim attempted to broker an agreement between the agents and the protester to try and defuse the situation. Yet, at one point, agents started pushing the crowd back and began firing projectiles containing chemical irritants. It's so disgusting. Senator reportedly placed himself between the agents and the crowd, putting his arms up to say, "Stop. It's just burning," Kim said after inhaling the chemicals. And I've seen this video here. This is so disturbing.
I understand, but he's a senator.
Respectfully, still. He's got the pictures over there. This is his...
What? Hold on. Hold on. Who is this fool that is literally trying to cover the camera like, no, like, girl, no, sorry, the truth needs to get out there. Let me watch that again. Hold on. Wow, they're having to treat him. They're having to treat him like on site.
I understand, but he's a senator.
Respectfully, still. He's got the pictures over there. This is his...
Hold on, what is this person saying?
Respect.
I understand, but he's a senator.
Sorry, hold on.
I understand, but he's a senator.
You're like, this is a restricted area or something like that?
Respectfully, still. He's got the pictures over there. This is his...
Well, other people are getting it too, so what is your attitude coming from? Where's your attitude coming from? Anyway, New Jersey Senator Mikey Sherrill was also on hand and was denied access to the facility, which holds up to 1,000 inmates. Imagine the facility saying the governor, duly elected representative of the state, can't even visit. Like being denied access to the facility. This is what happens. This is what happens when private institutions, they have power. They have power over even the elected representatives. That's wild. No matter what your immigration status is, you should be treated with you shouldn't be treated with anything less than dignity in this country. And what's also even more disgusting, is there have been reports of, and this is about to make you sick, and I'm sorry, viewer discretion is advised. Tom Homan, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, is now basically like, well, we might have to force feed ICE detainees on the hunger strike if it gets bad enough. How cruel do you have to be? How cruel! It's so disgusting, y'all. It's so disgusting. Let me get into this here. Border czar, the fact that they call him a border czar is just... vowed to force feed ICE detainees engaging in a hunger strike on Tuesday, telling Fox News host Laura Ingraham that the measure would be used if it gets bad enough. What an absolute cretin. Homan joined the Ingraham angle to discuss the recent confrontation between protesters, lawmakers, and ICE officers at a New Jersey detention center. The reporter's brutal conditions, which DHS has denied, triggered outside protests that turned violent on Monday, with Andy Kim, Democratic senator from New Jersey, being pepper sprayed. Mikey Sherrill, who also attended the protest, who was denied access to the facility, as we covered, that has a history of allegations of inhumane treatment. And this is the thing. Why in the world do all these Republicans literally view ICE? Why do people view an undocumented immigrant as literally an animal? As someone who doesn't deserve basic human rights? And then they have the audacity to call themselves a Christian? It's so disgusting. Jesus was an undocumented immigrant. Jesus was a sojourner. He went around and preached in the land. It's just, how do these people not see their own hypocrisy on steroids? And where is the empathy? It shouldn't matter whether you are a full citizen or not. You don't deserve to be treated that way. Especially in America. We are a country made up of immigrants. Everyone here has an immigration story. whether you were a colonizer, came through Ellis Island, or your ancestry being brought over by enslavement. Unless, you have Native American history, everyone on this land was not native to it, except for Native Americans. So now, because a lot of the people who are trying to immigrate to this country, just because they have brown skin and maybe speak Spanish or have a different culture or language, that all of a sudden we're supposed to be brutal to them, treat them like less than, like animals, like, it's so disgusting. Why? Am I as a white person supposed to be scared? Am I supposed to be scared of, like, anyone who doesn't look like me, sound like me, talk like me? Oh my God, they're invading our country because they want to immigrate here. Like, I'm sorry, I love America, the idea of being a rich cultural fabric of diversity, equity, and inclusion that believes in everyone getting a fair shake to build themselves up here. I thought we were all on the same page with that. I'm sorry, when did we decide to become super antagonistic towards anyone based on pure differences alone? And now we have a system that has been overloaded with people trying to come to this country, and instead of fixing the system like we should to process everyone's cases to determine whether we want them to be a citizen of the country, just as genuine concerns about security of like, oh, is this a good person? Does this person have a, record of crime? Anyway, instead of funding the system that robustly actually makes an immigration system process swifter, we decide to literally just have mobs of people that have face masks on because they're cowards to uproot and tear apart communities. And then when people say that's not the way to do it and they hunger protest and hunger strike, all of a sudden they then are met with pepper spray. This is why other countries view the United States as a tyrannical joke. This is why whenever we talk about democracy, they don't take us seriously anymore. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Look, I have done this since 1984. Hunger strikes never work. We are not going to change what we do because someone goes on hunger strike. And in matter of fact, if it gets bad enough and prisoners feel like putting themselves in extreme danger, medical danger, then we'll force feed them. Oh my God. We'll get a court order and force feed them? Hunger strikes do not work? What?
Lord have mercy. First of all, what a disgrace to this nation. The day we're supposed to honor those who gave all. And they're there disrespecting and attacking those men and women of ICE who strap a gun to their hip every day, go out and protect people they don't even know or never.
They don't protect people. They literally tear apart families and communities. How in the world do these people have the audacity to be like, oh, you're saying this on Memorial Day. How dare you? I'm sorry. I'm not there to memorialize someone who literally uproots families, tears apart communities. That is one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard. It's like, oh, why aren't you feeling sad? Why aren't you memorializing the officers that are tearing everyone else's communities apart?
For me, this is disgraceful on the first part of it. The second off, but their message, they have no message. Because I'll say it again. Go to ICE.
They have a message, Tom Homan. They have a message of stop brutalizing these people. They are people, regardless of their citizenship status. They're people with rights guaranteed by our Constitution, regardless of citizenship status. And what? You brandish a cross on your chest and try to be like, oh, I'm a Christian. I care about the human rights of other people. Like, no, you don't. You're literally funding. Jesus would literally come down to earth and literally be so upset, mock you, call you, like, I can't even English because I'm so frustrated. Like, how in the world are these people continuing to try? They've hijacked all the purpose of religion, Christianity, to then support literally what Satan wants. False idols.
And look at ICE's detention standards. The highest detention standards in the industry. Better than any state prison, county jail, or federal lockup.
Then why are they protesting? Why are they protesting? Why have there been reports coming out about how they treat people? Like, Just because you say, oh, that's not true. Oh, you've convinced me. You've convinced me. Oh, we don't need to be striking anymore. No problems. I don't believe you.
Attention standards in industry. Deaths in custody. They're talking about people being mistreated. Deaths in custody in ICE is a fraction of any state prison or federal facility. A fraction. And we deal with people from third world nations who are in bad shape when we get them. ICE detention standards, it stands on its own. We spent almost $1 billion when I was ICE director. Now.
And also, it's not to deny that there are people there that have done bad things. The point is that they're being treated so poorly. And also a lot of people are getting locked up in ICE detention centers purely because they're suspected of being undocumented. When many of them probably do have citizenship status. That's what makes these ICE raids so stupid.
Now, it's a while ago, almost $1 billion on healthcare alone. So they can yell and scream all they want about ICE detention standards, but the highest standards in the nation.
Yeah, so to them it's well, they're hunger strikes because the conditions inside the facility are terrible. I mean, that just doesn't pass the straight face test. I mean, this is not supposed to be a spa with foot massages and facials, right? This is
No one is saying that they want that, you idiot. No one is saying that, Laura Ingraham. Your disingenuous straw man argument is absolutely disgusting. They're not asking for these ICE detainees to have facials. Who are you? They're not asking for that. They're just asking for basic human dignity, and you won't even give them that. And then you're denying it? Girl, Like,
this is a facility, supposed to be a temporary facility to process people out of the country. But the fact of the matter is they want no one deported. Not a violent criminal or not a run-of-the-mill illegal.
that is not necessarily true. We want a system that's going to vet people, give people a fair shake. Also not imprison people purely based on suspicion. Like, that's stop and frisk on steroids. When Democrats did it, we condemned it. Then Republicans do it, and it's all fine and dandy. No, it's based on the principle itself. Why do we have a country that literally demonizes people based on their identities and then claims that we don't do that when we are America? The idea of America is that everyone gets a fair shake, yet you won't even give them a fair shake, and now you're trying to gaslight everyone else saying that you do. Like, girl, bye. Get out with that crap. We don't need this. This is the kind of stuff, this is the kind of Nazi propaganda we would see. 100%. 100%. Speaking of that, I'm not even going to finish this because I'm just so frustrated with it. I need to laugh a little bit because this. Okay. While we're talking about this protest here, Fox News correspondent confronts protester who called her a Nazi, bitch, in wild on-air clash. I have to watch this. I haven't actually watched the video yet. I've read the article, but...
This is the deal. ICE says they're going to do everything they can to keep this facility open, and we're going to keep a close eye on exactly what happens with that. And so the other situation is there's people like this. You are a protester who's been out here, and you have a dirty mouth. But, okay, so... This person's like, you're a Nazi bitch. Hold on. She's like, you have a dirty mouth. Like, girl. This. You are a protester who's been out here, and you have a dirty mouth. But, okay, so that's just what we deal with. So just for people that want to know what it's like to cover these protests, it's constant with this. This is what these people do. They want people who are in this country illegally to be released out onto the streets. DHS says that's what they're going to not be doing. So we'll see.
Nazi bitch. That's what you want.
That is,
You know, it's important to note that when you're being called something, you have to ask yourself, is this valid or is this not? I get called endless amounts of crap on my live stream all the time by homophobic people all the time, okay? When someone calls you something, you do need to look at it and be like, is this valid? Is this not? These people immediately deny. They don't have any way to self-reflect upon anything that they're doing. So I find it astounding how this person immediately is like, just denies any sort of wrongdoing. You are part of Fox News. You were literally sued for defamation for spreading lies about a democratically elected president. You were literally spreading endless amounts of garbage in order to fuel the hate and vitriol of an egotistical, narcissistic maniac like Trump, who's literally profiting off of the office, endlessly being a part of a network that does that kind of crap. So when someone gives you the moniker Nazi bitch, you should look at that and be like, well, maybe am I being that? Yes! Yes, you are! You're going to an ICE detention center to be like, look, these people are all awful and criminals and blah, 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 blah. You're literally doing the exact same kinds of things that genocide defenders would do in Nazi Germany. And then as soon you're like clutching your pearls being like, wow, look at this, you have a dirty mouth. It's like, then girl, don't do the things that we're going to condemn you for. Like, progressives, liberals, independents, doesn't matter. Anyone who's not MAGA will criticize someone and then they take it as a personal attack. We're not trying to attack you personally. We're calling out the corruption, the insanity where it is. And then you'd be like, oh my God, it's a personal attack on me. You're calling me all these things. Like, it's so nasty. Like, oh my God, you have a dirty mouth. Like, shut up. Ugh. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. I love the person being like, oh, that hurts my feelings. Like that, this is the kind of stuff that you get. Well, when you're part of a network that literally spews lies endlessly in order to protect the whiny, egomaniac, narcissistic tendencies of a man-child who's our president that bombs countries for no reason, then sorry, yeah, you're gonna get called names. I find it astounding. Oh, geez Louise. I just think it's so disgusting how much people just have vitriol towards undocumented immigrants. Like, here's the thing. We all want to make sure to have a citizenry that is safe. Like, Democrats don't want people to be citizens of this country if they are not safe people. I don't think that many MAGA people understand that. But do you understand that we are very concerned about the way that you are stopping and frisking and judging people because they sound different or look different, or you suspect them of being a non-citizen based on race or gender? Like, or racial identity or ethnic makeup? Do you not understand that Democrats are looking at ICE, their specific tactics, as stop and frisk level? You're literally suspecting something of someone, and ICE has also put lots of people in detention centers that also have citizenship. Like, they're pulling over people just because they look Hispanic or sound Hispanic. It's racial prejudice on steroids. Like, how in the world are you defending that? It doesn't then mean that progressives, independents, Democrats, liberals, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't mean that we want criminals out on the street. No one wants that. But you understand that ICE is a terroristic force that is literally uprooting communities based on suspicion instead of evidence. That's what they're doing. Instead of actually looking into it, they're just stopping and frisking and immediately snatching people up, throwing them in a detention center. And then going, oops, wrong, I got that one wrong. It's cruel. Regardless of whether you are a citizen or not in this country, our Constitution guarantees rights to people under the Constitution, regardless of citizenship. Do people not understand that? Also, we're all human beings. I care more about the empathy and what works for people in this country rather than whether you have an official badge of citizenship or not? Am I supposed to then be afraid? Like, genuinely, pause. Am I supposed to be afraid of someone just because they're not a citizen? Like, oh, I'm supposed to be afraid of you. Oh dear, oh my God, you don't have a card that says that you're a full citizen? Oh dear Lord, I'm terrified. No. Whenever I meet someone who's undocumented, my first question is like, oh, do you need any help trying to go through the process? And I point them in a direction. I'm like, okay, have you ever met or talked with an undocumented person? They don't like the fact they're undocumented. They find that embarrassing. They find it frustrating. People who are undocumented don't relish in the fact that they are undocumented. Also, you have to also look at why. People have come to this country fleeing from other places around the world from desperate situations of economic hardship and also their home being destroyed, governments and corruption, and they decide to come to America for a fair shake, a new life. And so they come to this country because they hear America is made up of immigrants, and we decided to betray that oath just because of our xenophobic hatred and racist narcissism by an existing president? Like, I thought we were supposed to be a country that was proud of our diversity. And now now you have Republicans trying to teach people to fear others based on differences. Like we're somehow tribalistic people that go to war with the neighboring nation. Like, no. I thought we got over that crap. It's disgusting. It's purely disgusting. I support these protesters. Full-heartedly support these protesters. Call her a Nazi, B-I-T-C-H, LOL. So it looks like a lot more people are saying vertical format. That's interesting. That's interesting. I guess I'm going to have to keep the vertical format then. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple weeks with a vertical format and then do a couple weeks with a horizontal format and then see how I feel. I appreciate you all voting in the poll here. Do you want to vote really quickly before I end the poll here? Make sure to vote in the poll. I don't know where it is on the screen, but make sure to vote in the poll. Also, you like my mug? It says peace, love, and penguins. I love penguins. Alrighty. I love every single one of you, even if you don't like me. So I see a lot more people saying, vertical stream. That's interesting. That's interesting. You know, that would make me stand out. Sure. I just popped in for me, and I just got here. Well, hello, Deddy Bear Kai. I appreciate you. Okay, let's move on to the next segment here, shall we? Okay, I have not watched... Hold on, let me start the recording here for just a second. Hold on. Now, I have not fully read or watched... Words. Now, I have not fully read this article all the way through, and I have not watched this video. Nevertheless... You are seeing my organic reaction here. Tucker Carlson tells viewers, I think people should stop paying their credit cards. Okay. That's interesting. That's going to give me pause here. Like, I don't like credit card companies, personally. I think that they are, profiting a lot off of the American people. But I also don't know if that's good advice to then tell people, because then they'll start going into debt. I mean, instead, I would think that it might be a more powerful thing to defeat the credit card lobby. Now, you might be like, oh, you're taking his words out of context. Let's see. Let's actually watch this video here. No, I don't want an ad. I pay for no ads. Look at this. I pay for Mediaite Plus and it still gives me ads. What is this?
On behalf of all patients.
I'm sorry, I'm refreshing the window here because, hold on. It shouldn't give me ads.
Every Raising Cane's chicken finger is cooked to order to perfection. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love.
I swear, I pay for no ads. Why is it giving me ads? Can I not skip this? Hello? Hello? Why is my screen now frozen? Why is it frozen? Why is it frozen?
Good mornings always start with good breakfast. So whether you start yours with fluffy waffles
or more risk-taking.
Okay, sorry. I just... I don't get it. I don't get it.
When they don't have the funds, I don't believe you should be taking out loans that you can't afford.
Yeah.
It's, people saying don't spend money you don't have. It's something most people are aware of, but some people don't practice that.
Yeah, I used to feel that way. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think people should stop paying their credit cards. I know no one else agrees with me. And, you have a moral obligation. Really? Well, you have a moral obligation not to send credit card applications to kids in college. So this goes both ways. It's like just blaming the drug addict and never mentioning the dealer. Someone's selling the fentanyl. And that person is on the hook too. So that's how I feel. So, like...
I cannot believe I'm about to say this. Maybe I agree with Tucker Carlson. Now, maybe not fully, but he has a point. These credit card companies constantly will put out applications to people being like, oh, get a credit card, get a credit card, get a credit card. Credit is an unfortunate system that we have to participate in. Truth be told, I don't have a credit card. I don't have a credit card. And I don't want one. I know I should probably get one and be a part of that system, but I don't want to do it. No, don't make me. Nevertheless, he's like, I think people should stop paying it. But his argument is, there is a drug dealer that is selling the fentanyl. Why? We blame the individual for purchasing it. Yes, it is a choice to purchase it and be hooked on that. I mean, it's also important to get into the psychology of addiction and all of that. But also, corporations often will try to make it all about personal choices and blaming the people for feeding into it when they're the ones offering the service. So, it does go kind of both ways. His comparison does make some sense. I think that it requires a balance, perhaps. Let me watch this again. Hold on.
Where you, make people mad. If you have debt,
They go after it.
Yeah, you can see
judgments
why.
and liens are public as well. So you don't have any, obviously, but it's usually people could find them.
Well, you wonder why all these members of Congress and the hair hats on television are all saying exactly the same thing, because they're exposed, and everyone thinks it's exposed sexually, and a huge number of them are creepy sexually, but it's not just that, it's the money. It's the debt, it's the leash that keeps them in line.
That's wild.
I think.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. It sounds like it. I've never had this conversation before. I normally it's, for me, it's like, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Well, if
What was that laugh? What was that laugh, y'all?
if you're in debt to anybody, you're literally in debt to them. You owe them something you haven't yet paid. So that is, by definition, their control over you, right?
Yeah, they have control over you, and they can take your assets if you don't pay them. So
yeah,
they totally understand it, and it's a risky. Depending on the type of person. Some people are more risk taking when they don't have the funds. I don't believe you should be taking out loans that you can't afford.
Yeah.
It's people saying don't spend money you don't have. It's something most people are aware of, but some people don't practice that.
My parents, and this is a personal side, my parents talk about this a lot. My parents are very fiscally conservative people. And there is some integrity into saying that, you shouldn't be spending money that you don't have, because then you put yourself in a pit where then it makes it hard for you to pull yourself up. Though, it also goes both ways, because you do have to look at, okay, it is on the individual that feeds into that system, sure. But also, the system that we have can sometimes bring out the worst in human behavior with the way that it's set up, because these corporations set it up this way in order to personally profit. And I'm not saying that you should go as far as to stop paying your credit cards, but let's understand the system and how it takes advantage of people, exploits people, uses them as cogs in their machine to endlessly make money. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to feel that way. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think people should stop paying their credit cards. I know no one else agrees with me. And, you have a moral obligation. Really? Well, you have a moral obligation not to send credit card applications to kids in college. So this goes both ways. It's like just blaming the drug addict and never mentioning the dealer. Someone's selling the fentanyl. And that person is on the hook too. So that's how I feel. So like...
And I call balls and strikes. I give credit where it's due, criticism where it's warranted. I'm not going to say don't stop words. I'm not going to say don't pay your credit card. No. But Tucker Carlson's making a good point here. You know, we have to look at the system itself and how it perpetuates corruption, how it keeps people in debt, how it bankrupts people. You could say the same with our healthcare. Our healthcare industry makes so much money for these wealthy shareholders at the top of hospitals, at the top of private insurance. And what it does instead is it worsens health outcomes. And you can be like, oh, it's the individual's fault for not being insured or not having a job or not having the best benefits. Or you could probably blame the system. You know, it's a lot like companies berating the individuals when it is them that need to take the major action. But they try to be like, well, you need to do something about it. Well, you cannot excessively blame the person that is looking for the fentanyl. Yes, it is a personal choice. But if you are a drug dealer and you are out there increasing people's desire for it, then yeah, you're perpetuating into the system, dude. You can't just have it go one way or the other. You know, yes, everything is a personal choice, but also you have to look at the fact that you're participating in a system that's corrupt.
Is it a sin to rip off your drug dealer? I guess. It's not one I'm going to judge you for.
Yeah, I think it's 100% agree with you there. Yeah, I can't argue that.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Let's look at the comments here. Let's look at the comments. That will clear up your credit rating. No, it won't. No, it won't. Best to have no credit rating to worry about. Yeah, that's why you have a credit rating, but I think I don't have a credit card. I try not to engage in that. But credit is a system that unfortunately you do have to engage with. Let's see. This silver-spooned racist POS is worth a couple $100 million and heir to a lot more. Taking financial advice from him is like taking marital advice from Trump. It's not one I'm going to judge you for. Pretty sure a judge will judge you for it. Like, is it a sin to rip off your drug dealer? I guess. It's a crime to steal, you flaming dude. Okay. Yeah, it is a crime to steal. But is it a crime to steal from people who originally stole from that person? To, take it back? Yes, Tucker Carlson telling people it's okay not to pay your bills sounds like he's trying to get back into little Donnie's good graces. So, theft. He's advocating for theft. He's telling people to steal. As long as you think you're stealing from someone or something that's immoral, it's okay. No slippery slope there, sir. No, sir. Yeah, that's another thing. Stealing is wrong. Stealing is wrong. Pure and simple. Stealing is wrong. Though, if you are stealing from something that is initially stealing from someone else, there's gray area there. If you're a credit card company and you're preying on people with endless amounts of fees, and the way the system is set up that it incentivizes and brings out the worst and human greed, I'm not going to say that, it's an interesting situation here. But y'all, pay your credit card bills. Pay your credit card bills. Trust fund brat. Never had to worry a dollar in his life, and it shows. Though, I'm gonna say it the way that it is. If he makes a good point, he makes a good point. But also, pay your credit card bills. That's not a good idea. My advice, I'm gonna make myself a little bit bigger here. My advice, hold on. I'm gonna start doing this more. My advice is pay your credit card bills, but try to hold the credit card companies accountable. Look at who takes money from credit card companies. Who is creating legislation that helps these credit card companies thrive? We have to look at the system that allows rich shareholders and the wealthy Epstein billionaire class to profit off of the tug of debt that it places on working class people to participate in a system where they unfortunately have to have credit or credit cards in order to thrive and function. Credit is used as a bypass litmus test, though oftentimes these credit card companies prey on people and bring out the worst instincts in folks. And yes, it is a personal choice to buy something when you don't have all the funds and then you are in debt to the credit card companies. Sure, you can blame the individual. That's valid. There is an argument there. We also have to look at the way the system is set up. It's set up to benefit the credit card companies. Credit, you can argue, from the source was something that was done to be charitable, but now is often a burden for Americans. And that's why I don't have a credit card. I try not to participate in that system at all. I think many young people are like, ooh, I don't want to participate in that system. Nevertheless, I appreciate every single one of you. I am going to move on to the next segment here. I love all of you. I just found that to be interesting, so I wanted to report on that. Let's see. Anyone have any interesting things in the chat here? I'm so tired of people trying to use that as some sort of talking point. Who cares if they're LGBTQ? Yeah, I know, right? There are weird cretins in the chat that always are so obsessed with my sexuality. Like, dude, that's just so weird. It's so weird. Okay. Well, it looks like people think that I should do a vertical format. That's good to know. That's good to know. I have a couple other stories to get to, and then I'm going to have to move on to work. Let's see. Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's an interesting one. All right, let's get into this one here. Okay. I'm not surprised. Donald Trump does nod off. He does sleep a little bit. Apparently, he doesn't sleep very much at night, probably because he's rage typing on Truth Social. Nevertheless, I found this moment very peculiar, so let's watch.
But still, what should happen, would you say, with this annual physical for the president? How should the exam be different for a president who is turning 80 in June?
Yeah, well, Kate, this is really a tradition. The tradition for the annual physical exam really was started by Richard Nixon in the aftermath of Eisenhower's large heart attack. But the president and his team are not legally required to release information to Congress or the public, and I think that really should change. There are so many roles in our society that require annual assessments of physical capacity in the public, and I think that really should.
I'm sorry, there is no way that he's only 224 pounds. There's no way. There is no way. Skin has minor sun damage. Minor? This is a guy who looked up into the sun. I would say his eyes, his face, his whole body has sun damage.
Should change. There are
looking at him makes my eyes damaged.
So many roles in our society that require annual assessments of physical capacity. Pilots, Secret Service agents, school bus drivers, and for the chief executive of this country and the commander in chief of our armed forces, we should have a clear understanding that the president is fit for duty. I do want to see this during this examination, a credible explanation for his visible health concerns. His bruising, which initially was described as due to vigorous handshaking, which is not credible.
Vigorous handshaking. Yeah, he does do vigorous handshaking, but how would you get a bruise there? Like, genuinely, how would you get a bruise on the outside of your hand for vigorous handshaking? That's not how that works. Also, the Queen before she passed, God bless the Queen, God save the Queen, whatever people say, had bruises on her hands, and it was not good because then she kicked the bucket. We'll see, unless they have some miracle cure.
His severe edema in his ankles, which was described as, chronic venous insufficiency.
Yeah, the swollen ankles, that is an issue.
When just 3 months before, 1 year ago, his examination disclosed that he had no edema, which would then make it acute venous insufficiency, which is an entirely different thing. And finally,
that is some swollen ankle. Look at this. I mean, the shoe itself is like really hugging it. Really hugging it.
The president has severe daytime somnolence. He falls asleep very often. He's fallen asleep in the Oval Office on multiple occasions with people talking to him in the cabinet room. And there was concern yesterday that he might have fallen asleep at Arlington National Cemetery during Memorial Day observances.
For a guy, okay, hold on. Let me make myself a little bit bigger. For a guy who literally made the moniker Sleepy Joe to then have significantly more instances of him falling asleep, even at memorial ceremonies and all of these other cabinet meetings, you can't make that up. Fiction could never. If you were to tell someone in like 12 years ago that this is where we were going to be, they would immediately laugh in your face. Well, this is where we are. The guy who tries to get mad and rage about how other people falling asleep. The hypocrisy. It's just, oh geez Louise. This has been Republicans and like MAGA's strategy all along. Try to point fingers at the other people for exactly what you do. You're like, oh, you're corrupt. Oh, you're doing all these nefarious things to kids. It's like, and then the skeletons come out of Republicans' closets that they are the ones that are incredibly corrupt, Ken Paxton, that they're doing awful things to kids. I could go through a litany of so many Republican MAGA politicians who have literally been held accountable for awful things to kids. But nevertheless, it's like, that's the strategy. It's a lot like you're around a lot of people and then you pass gas and then you blame other people. It's like that strategy. And in some capacities, it can be a little bit genius. But when it's so obviously you, when it's coming from your area, I don't even go graphic into this, but like when it's coming from your area and like, you know, people can, you know, be like, oh, I heard it coming over from you. Like, it's just, and then you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're lying. You know, maybe not. You know, trust me. Just deny. And then people start to believe it because you deny it so much, because you hold on to the same lie. That's exactly what our moment in America is like. You know, the evidence stacks up against Trump. He denies it. And then he manufactures doubt in people's minds. When you manufacture doubt in people's minds, you don't need to prove something. But if you manufacture doubt, then they can kind of create the reality they want you to believe in. This is what's happened for MAGA. They believe in the plausible deniability of Trump somehow not being corrupt, because that's what they choose to believe in, regardless of all the evidence that's stacked against him, regardless of the litany of objective things that have happened, the data, the science, the statistics, the timeline of everything that's happened. As long as Trump can manufacture doubt, give them a little bit of that drug, a little bit of that copium, in order to then still maintain and be part of the cult, then he doesn't need proof that he doesn't need proof of other things. He can just constantly lie, and then it becomes reality to them. And that's what makes up a cult. It is dangerous. They're kind of like merchants of doubt. And that's what Trump does. When any sort of corruption thing comes out about him, he doesn't have to prove innocence. He just has to manufacture doubt. And and there's actually a book on that called Merchants of Doubt. I have it like nearby on my bookcase. But it's what big tobacco does. It's what big oil does about climate change. It's like, it's awful. And they've learned to take this into politics, and it's dangerous.
And chronic insomnia is a severe illness. It can result in an increase in risk of dementia, decrease in cognitive effects in older people.
Gee, we hadn't seen that before. It's not like we're seeing evidence of that all the time. Now, nevertheless, let me get to this next part here, because this is going to blow your socks off. Make sure you're subscribing, okay? This is going to blow your socks off. Megyn Kelly is now defending Trump occasionally nodding off. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Megyn Kelly defended President Donald Trump occasionally nodding off in public. Just days after trashing him on several public fronts. Kelly cited a Mediaite story about CNN's medical analyst claiming the president had severe daytime somnolence. Anyway, causes him to fall asleep very often. Curious thing for someone who nicknames his opposition Sleepy Joe when he literally is the person that falls asleep significantly more, proving out data by the results in the timeline of reality. Sorry, reality is your fact check. Regardless, he's fallen asleep in the Oval Office multiple occasions with people talking to him in the cabinet room, and there was concern yesterday that he might have fallen asleep in Arlington National Cemetery during Memorial Day observances. Yeah, of course he would. Of course he would. He hears that people giving their lives and giving sacrifice to their country, and he's like, God, so disgusting. But Megyn Kelly didn't seem to think that was a cause for alarm, even as she acknowledged that he does, in fact, nod off in public. I love how Trump occasionally nodding off has got to be some secret, some scary medical issue. Obviously, they're raising fitness for office. Oh, there's a tiny bit of self-awareness there. Okay, growth. Kelly wrote on X, maybe it's just that he doesn't sleep much at night, or these events are kind of long, dry, not that scintillating. Girl. The copium and the rationalization is so embarrassing for you. Imagine, put this shoe on the other foot, okay? I love how this, imagine if Democrats were to then respond this way about Biden. Imagine. I would be like, look, there are moments where Joe Biden was not clearly there. The man was old, okay? Why am I saying was, like he's not alive? The man is old, okay? Bless his heart. He may have nodded off occasionally, sure. That raises questions about fitness for office. It does. Republicans' concerns about Biden's fitness for office were a valid thing. And now, whenever Democrats bring up his fitness for office, the mad rants that he goes on, the inconsistent timelines, the constant talking and confusing countries' names even, the absolute dementia-ridden crap that he spouts on a daily basis, and the fact that he nods off during endless amounts of public events way more than Biden, as soon as that is legitimately brought up, then you're like, oh, it's nothing. Girl, just say that you're a propagandist. Tattoo it on your forehead, why don't you? Because... I mean, now you're just like trying to rationalize. You've gone from the denial part of the 5 steps of grief to then like, what is it? Denial. You're going into bargaining. Oh, he doesn't do it that much. He doesn't do it that much, girl. Let's read the responses here. I'm really, really curious to see if there are any good responses. The president who questioned his predecessor's fitness for office by constantly referring to him as Sleepy Joe now regularly nods off in public. But nothing to see here, right, Megyn? And if he can't stay awake in public, imagine what's happening behind the scenes and what drugs his quack doctors shoot him up with. Wait, hold on. Let me make this bigger so that you all can see. Sorry. Shoot him up with so he can make it through his incomprehensible rallies. And if Obama had nodded off once in public, you'd weaponize it with every trope in your racist arsenal. You're a gaslighting ghoul, Megyn, devoid of any semblance of character, decency, or integrity. Bravo, mic drop, well done, round of applause. That was so, hold on, repost. That was so good. Hold on, let me look and see. His posture shows he's listening with his eyes closed, as many others do. Oh my God, injected into my veins, please. He stays up all night tweeting insane lies and getting high on Adderall and cocaine. Of course, the PEDO is going to nod off during the day. Yeah, I mean, this person says, maybe because Trump actually works, unlike Biden. You really think that Trump works? You really think that Trump works? Girl. We need to call the CDC because we need a vaccine for that delusion. Ooh. Yeah. I just, wait, hold on. Look at this. Introducing the Trump Realistic Human Eyes Lifelike Sunglasses. Always alert, always golden, always Trump. He's like leaning over and oh my god, that's so disgusting. Ew. You really need to decide what side you're on because it's not the journalist side. You disgust me. There's nothing more pathetic than seeing women defending a lying misogynist rapist. And at one point, I want to point this out. I actually did a video on Megyn Kelly. I actually just did a video on her, posted to my channel, so make sure to go and check that out. It's really good, okay? Megyn Kelly recently went scorched earth on Donald Trump over all of his scandals, specifically with women. She used to call him out for the misogynistic, awful things that he's done. And his past ex-wives and all of those things. His affairs with Stormy Daniels, all those things. And then she decided to pivot because it was opportunistic for her. She was reading the tea leaves of the political moment, being like, maybe I should pivot and decide to be back in Donald Trump's good graces. And now what's happening is she's deciding to then repivot back, but then now she's defending it like, girl. I wonder how many times I've said girl on this broadcast. I'm going to say 85. I'm going to say 85. Nevertheless, oop, no, come back. There we go. Keep simping, Megyn. The one thing I'm sure of is you will never come to regret it at any point in your life. What is this? I don't get that. Okay. Nope, no problems here. Kinda long and dry, not that scintillating. What is Megyn Kelly's face, vag, and personality, Alex? Like a Jeopardy question? Oof. That idiot can do no wrong in your mind. You're in a cult. Well, okay, that actually, Megyn Kelly has had some moments where she's questioned and criticized Trump. So let me call a spade real quick because let's talk about this here. Megyn Kelly gets utterly personal in scorching criticism of Trump, claiming that he's cheated on every wife he's had.
Hi.
No, I don't want to see that.
10 of men maximum guards are designed.
Go away! I pay for Media I Plus. I should not get ads. I should not get ads. Boo ads. Boo. Can I please get it without ads? Please? Sorry, y'all. Hold on. Give me a second. No, I don't want to see more ads for whatever cream you're rubbing on your knee. That's making me uncomfortable. Don't give me ads.
Sleep is simple. Just track your activity, exercise regularly, exposure to natural.
I don't want to see all of this crap.
Optimize your bedroom.
Go away.
Lenovo is proud to serve as.
You know what? Sorry, it's just not going to happen there. It's not going to happen there. You know what? I have to scroll through X to find it. Fine. Sorry, give me a moment. We'll get to that in a second. Give me a moment.
To me, it's stunning to me that the people who voted for the man who said over and over.
Where is it? Why is my screen freezing? Where is it? Here it is. This is what I want.
Glass house.
Here we go. Hold on. Okay. Here it is.
Talk about a glass house. has cheated on every wife he's had. He met Marla Maples while he was still married to the mother of his children, Ivana.
Right.
It was all over the New York papers. I'm from New York, upstate New York, but I was in New York when this all went down.
Look, as my mom would say, a broken clock is right at least twice a day. Like, credit to her for calling it out, but also criticism where it's warranted, because, girl, it's about time. It's about dang time, as Lizzo would say, without the curse word. Like, girl, class has been in session. You're arriving late. But also, she didn't always used to be critical of Trump. I'll get to that in a minute.
The city. And he was like being touted. Like, he was proud of the affair. It was all over the papers. Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, Ivana, his first wife, accused him of raping her. That she alleged in her first book that he was so angry over the hair transplant he got that she made him get. It was so painful that he raped her. And I
think it's funny how she casually admits that Donald Trump has had a hair transplant.
Later retracted that when he ran for president, but that stood on the books for some time. I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm just saying, clearly not a great relationship there.
Right.
And then he winds up with Melania, and if you think Trump's been faithful to Melania, okay, that's great. You got bigger issues than I can solve here.
Right.
But so the nerve. Like, the nerve to act, for him to be judging somebody else's marriage or love relationships or choices, it just shows you, like, he's got chutzpah, I guess is the word for it, beyond. And
he's got a lot more medical conditions than just chutzpah, honey. But it's hilarious because now Megyn Kelly, again, is defending Trump nodding off. Like, where is she? What is she doing? Is she playing darts with politics because she's like, what am I going to hit today? Like, woo! You go from criticizing him, rightfully so, to then defending him, occasionally nodding off, being like, yeah, I guess people are concerned about his fitness, but like, I love how Trump occasionally nodding off is some scary medical issue. Yeah, it's a concern. It is a concern, regardless of your partisanship. But also, like, the fact that he's doing it so much is something to talk about. And now you're like, oh, it's like, maybe not so much. Yeah, for a guy who literally claimed his opponent is Sleepy Joe. I mean, jeez Louise. Sorry, wrong thing. Hold on. I just find it astounding, okay?
The corruption.
Now, this gets even worse here. And I've talked about this, again, I just posted a video about this, but I'm covering it again. But I want to play it here.
I have to be honest, I didn't expect the corruption to be quite as, widespread as it's been, and like the self-dealing and the lining of his and his family's pocket.
Okay, listen to what she said there. Listen to what she specifically said.
I have to be honest, I didn't expect the corruption to be quite as, widespread as it's been, and like the self-dealing and the lining of his and his family's pockets.
I didn't expect the corruption to be as widespread. So you expected corruption. You expected it to be there. And yet you cheered for it. Girl, the propagandist is like, she's revealing too much. What was she on? Like, she's admitting that she was cheering for someone who was corrupt.
It's like, that's been a little shocking.
Talking billions of dollars.
Like, credit to her for calling it out the way that it is. A broken clock is right twice a day at least. But, like, girl!
Expect Trump to be so disrespectful of his base.
Right.
Well, you know what, Megan? I got to push back a little bit because, Trump didn't take a salary while he's president. So, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, didn't take a salary, yet has used the office of the presidency to personally profit in the tunes of billions of dollars through deregulating cryptocurrency and then launching his own crypto venture. His own sons being on the boards for Polymarket and Kalshi as strategic advisors and then deregulating those markets, literally taking money in foreign bribes from other governments and then using U.S. taxpayer dollars in government operations to conduct office operations through the executive branch, and then using that when you go to properties owned by the Trump organization, where the government is then paying the Trump organization for staying at those properties, and Trump's own, the money that we taxpayers put into it, he pockets off of those operations. Like, girl, the corruption is there. Just because you don't take a salary does not mean that you're not using the office for endless amounts of corruption. Like, girl!
Right? I mean,
I'm glad that she's finally realizing it, but, like, wake up. It's about time.
Like, across the board of the Trump family, I've never seen a family get so rich off of a presidency.
Right.
And it happened at the same time as we now have a Supreme Court ruling that basically says any official act he takes while in the White House is protected.
Right.
And those two things...
Hold on. Wait. Someone says, yeah, you're pissed. You're not the ones still doing it. Sorry, there's a comment in the chat here I have to handle. First off, you're using the wrong "your," which, you know, words can be difficult, okay? You're using the wrong "your." You want the one with the apostrophe R-E, okay? Secondly, I don't care political affiliation. I don't care partisan makeup. You do corruption. I call it out. I don't care if it's in my party or an opposing political party. No, corruption is bad. I hope that we, all as Americans, hopefully you're not a bot, can all be on the same page with that. Nevertheless, you think that somehow Democrats are jealous because Republicans are more corrupt? What are you on? Can I not just call out corruption because it's corruption and that's not how our government should run? You're claiming that somehow other people are jealous because other people do corrupt actions? Like, what? Ew! Who are you? Get out, leave, bye, I love you, bye, see you later, bye. Now I wanna give credit where it's due and criticism where it's warranted. Megyn Kelly wasn't always such a Trump sycophant. She did have moments where she criticized Trump earlier on. So watch this.
But I am fascinated by the protection of women and understanding what we're getting in the Oval Office.
Another woman who has alleged groping, unwanted groping, by Donald Trump is with us back now with 3 of the 16-plus women who have accused President Trump of sexual misconduct. Trump is on record as saying he did this. And you are all familiar by this point with the Access Hollywood tape. I don't think Donald Trump is a rapist or a sexual assaulter. I do think he's taken inappropriate liberties with women and gotten handsy with them in a way he's owned himself. And it is what it is. That's the past. I don't give a shit about Trump getting handsy with somebody 20 years ago. Ivana, his first wife, accused him of raping her. That she alleged in her first book that he was so angry over the hair transplant he got that she made him get. It was so painful that he raped her.
I thought you didn't care. I thought that you said that was the past. Girl, this shows that Megyn Kelly is just a chief propagandist. She goes where the wind blows, okay? She's just gonna go where it's politically opportunistic. She doesn't have an ounce of integrity in her body. She used to, perhaps, maybe, but she's reading the tea leaves. Trump is incredibly unpopular and becoming more unpopular by the day with like one Trump supporter waking up every single day. Progress. But nevertheless, like she's starting to read the tea leaves and be like, ooh, maybe I should just start demonizing Trump again. Like I can actually say what I think. Like how about you just have integrity and say what you think instead of propagandizing for him? Like, Girl. And now Megyn Kelly was like trying to test the waters and now she's trying to go back because now she's defending Trump by nodding off. Like, girl, get out. Hold on. Why is my screen freezing? It does this and it's really annoying. Now you're defending him nodding off. Sweetheart, what is it like having a jello body? Cause you got no spine. What is it like having a jello body? You got no spine. No spine whatsoever. Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. Let's move on to the next story here. Please make sure to send some likes. Yeah, that's... All right. How does she get prettier every year? I'm gay, so I cannot weigh in on that. I don't know. Makeup? Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know. Love you, Trump from Minneapolis. I'm not Trump. Glad you're tuning in from Minnesota. I don't understand what you're trying to get at here. Plastic surgery and Botox. No, guys, gas is cheap, groceries are cheap, and stocks are up so bigly. We're winning. I can hear the sarcasm. Yeah. Go get a real job. I actually do have to go to, my job here in about, I have to start getting ready in about 15, 20 minutes. So, how about you do that, Jeff? I have an Uncle Jeff. Actually, I have a call. I also have worked with someone named Jeff. So that's interesting. Jeff! Maybe it's METH. Okay, let's move on to the next story here. I haven't read this all the way through, but I still want to talk about it because I find this kind of funny, all right? And then we're going to talk about some other things. So this is going to be a quick little segment here. Make sure to send some likes if you're enjoying the stream. I love all of you. Here we go. Okay. Trump's official Board of Peace fund is empty. Wow. Couldn't see that coming. The only piece he knows is a piece of chocolate. But dollars are moving beyond public oversight, according to the Financial Times. President Donald Trump's much-hyped Board of Peace for Gaza reconstruction is reportedly yet to receive a single dollar in its official fund, despite billions in international pledges and repeated promises from the president that the initiative would reshape the region after the war. Was this like his promise? Hold on. Was this his promise to like turn Gaza into like a strip for like billion-dollar hotels and crap like that? 4 months after Trump unveiled the body, like where was it hiding? Like what? With considerable fanfare, 4 people familiar with the matter told Financial Times on Wednesday that the World Bank administered fund created for the project remains entirely unfunded. $0 have been deposited. LOL. The board was pitched by Trump as one of the most consequential international organizations ever created, and member states reportedly pledged $7 billion towards a Gaza relief package. I mean, I would hope so, because what's happening over there is awful. Trump himself promised another $10 billion in U.S. support. Well, here's the thing. I don't have faith that Trump would actually use that money for good. He's probably just going to pocket this money for some sort of other real estate, venture. I mean, this is a guy who loves vanity projects. He built a dang gold statue of himself at one of his properties. Like, yeah. This is probably just a fund to personally profit himself. Trump himself promised another $10 billion in U.S. support. But while the World Bank fund remains completely empty, donations have instead reportedly flowed through a separate JP Morgan account controlled by the organization. Yeah. Color me impressed. Like, wow, I'm shocked. I'm shocked it's going through a separate account. Couldn't see that coming. Unlike the World Bank fund, the account is not subject to the same transparency requirements. It's siphoning funds to himself, to the Trump organization, to himself. A Board of Peace official told the Financial Times that a number of options were established to receive funding and that contributors have opted to use other options. The official added the organization will report its financials to its executive board at a time deemed appropriate. The funding confusion has deepened scrutiny in Washington, where lawmakers are increasingly pressing the administration for clarity over the board's legal status, oversight, and authority. Yeah, it's purely just a way. It's like Trump University. He just pockets the money and then walks out the door. It's like a vaporware scam. I mean, it's just crazy. The board has then begun soliciting contracts for future reconstruction and security projects, though no contracts have been awarded, according to the Financial Times. Officials cited Hamas' continued refusal to disarm, the lack of operations and conditions inside Gaza. Meanwhile, 2 people involved with this post-war planning told the Financial Times that not $1 US has yet been deployed for rebuilding the enclave. I mean, girl. It's just a way for him to deposit money into his own pocket. And yet, this would have been a major story if it was 12 years ago. Today, it barely makes headlines. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. That's a quick little story. I want to get to something else really quickly here. Okay. I want to get to this here. I want to get to this. Hold on just a second. Okay. Where was I? Alrighty. Make sure to send some likes. I appreciate every single one of you. Yep, see you later, bud. Oh, bye. See you later. Alright, let's talk about gas prices. Yeah, that's fun. Something that we're all struggling with right now. And many Americans have reported to actually delaying trips and also not going places or limiting how much they drive because of gas prices going up. I mean, we saw this, yes, in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine, but that was not something that was caused by the United States. This conflict, however, Donald Trump decided to bomb Iran. Iran got mad and decided to use the Strait of Hormuz as a hostage, which is which is pushing gas prices up because oil has become in less supply, leading to the price going up. Naturally, Trump didn't see that coming because he doesn't care about the financial situation of Americans. Nevertheless, it's leading to U.S. drivers having to pay for higher gas prices because of the incompetence of a petulant man-child that occupies the White House right now. And his diaper probably needs to be changed. Nevertheless, as U.S. drivers suffer high gas prices, Big Oil celebrates and plans big payouts for shareholders. Yay! More money for the wealthy at the top, the Epstein class, the billionaires who think of all of us working class people as cogs in a machine for their capitalistic gain, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of their partisanship, regardless of their identity, race, sexual orientation, gender identity. Let the rich have more! Yes! Let's all get on board with that! Wow! This is United States! Let's go! These companies want Americans to believe price spikes are simply the unavoidable result of global events, but their own executives are openly telling investors that the volatility, conflict, and supply disruptions are good for business. Of course they are! They're like, ooh, these corporations are like, ooh, where can we squeeze more money out of these people? Let's go. Let's go. Let's increase money for the shareholders at the top. God, I'm so over the rich in this country. Eat the rich, physically. A Tuesday report from Groundwork Collaborative reveals how fossil fuel companies are merely scoring windfall profits from President Donald Trump's illegal war with Iran, but also using that money to reward shareholders rather than providing relief to consumers. Of course they are. Of course, it's always the rich people at the top that are pocketing the money, being like, oh, I'll take that, thank you, I'll take that, wonderful. The price of gas has soared since Trump attacked Iran without any congressional authorization in late February, going against the Constitution. But nevertheless, he doesn't let that woke document, stop him. Going from an average of $3 per gallon at the start of the war to $4.49 per gallon as of Tuesday. Love that. U.S. drivers have been paying more at the pump, and fossil fuel firms have been concerned with the paying out dividends and conducting stock buybacks, expanding production to lower prices, Groundwork Collaborative report finds. Let's actually open that report because I'm really interested. Let's look. Big Oil racks up windfall profits while consumers pay higher prices. Love that. Love that. ExxonMobil adjusted profits reached $8.8 billion in the first quarter of 2026. The company remained on pace for $20 billion in buybacks this year. Like, okay, I want to point that out. These companies are focusing on stock buybacks, which is a way for them to then boost executive compensation and compensation for the highest shareholders at the top. So you're like, okay, well, what's a stock buyback? What is a stock buyback? Hold on. And how does it benefit the wealthy shareholders? A stock buyback occurs when a company uses its profits to buy its own outstanding shares from the open market. The company then retires these shares, which reduces the total number of shares available, thereby increasing the ownership and stake of the value of the remaining shares. Stock buybacks are highly advantageous for wealthy investors and corporate executives who are typically paid in stock due to the following mechanisms: increased earnings per share. The core controversy, critics, as well as some other labor and economic groups, argue that buybacks primarily benefit the wealthy at the expense of long-term company health and worker wages. Instead of using using excess profits to reinvest in research and development, raise worker pay, or improve equipment, companies often then redirect capital into the buybacks to artificially boost short-term stock performance and also put money into the pockets of the wealthy investors at the top. Love that. So these companies are using their profits not to benefit their own corporation or benefit their own people, but like cartoon villains trying to stuff as much money in their pockets and then run away when it inevitably will fall, like an Enron situation or when it collapses, because that's what greed and avarice does to a country. And when you don't have adequate regulations put in place, of course you're going to have bad actors exploiting the system. But nevertheless, Republicans welcome those bad actors because you had Republicans just vote in Ken Paxton, a super corrupt person, for a felony indictments and fraud, a securities exchange fraud, to the Senate in Texas, and going against James Tallarico, which go James Tallarico. But nevertheless, I mean, God, the corruption is just off the charts here, and we're expected to just be like, oh, it's just American politics. Like, girl, get out. I'm saying this to the person who's viewing this for the first time. You would be a much better person in office than any one of these fools. Nevertheless, that's part of the Groundwork Collective report. And among other things, the report notes that ExxonMobil is on pace. I already talked about that. Hold on. Chevron has pledged $3 billion in quarterly stock buybacks while also increasing dividends for its shareholders, its first and foremost priority. Yeah, the first and foremost priority is benefiting the wealthy at the top. This is why people are so mad. This is why people are so upset. And like, these people are doing this out in the open. They're robbing Americans of the opportunity to build themselves up. These companies are investing in stock buybacks instead of pouring money into increasing wages across their companies, instead of research and development to create better products for people. And their only concern is with the money at the top going to the wealthiest of the wealthy. It's disgusting. And I don't care if those wealthy people then support socially acceptable causes like gay rights. I don't care. When you are a wealthy person pocketing that excess amount of money that you could instead be using to then benefit the lives of actual people, a part of your company, and then do better in the world, maybe do a little philanthropy at least. Instead, you're deciding to then make yourself richer by doing that kind of crud. Ew, get out. We need new leadership, I swear. And every single time that you have politicians, regardless of the political affiliation, if they are not calling this out, if they are not saying with their full chest that this is gross, then sorry, you need to be primaried and you need to get out of Washington because I'm so over this crud. Lindsay Owens, executive director of the Groundwork Collective, accused Big Oil of using Trump's illegal war as cover to keep prices high without taking any steps to reduce pain at the pump. These companies want Americans to believe price spikes are simply the unavoidable result of global events, but their own executives are openly telling investors that volatility, conflict, and supply disruptions are good for business. They're choosing buybacks over production, shareholder payouts over affordability, and corporate profiteering over the economic security of working families. It is so gross. Sorry, I should take a breath. Everyone breathe with me. A recent story in the New York Times, which I do not pay for, but nevertheless, if you do, that's fine. I pay for Mediaite Plus, described how price transporting corn into refugee camps in Somalia had doubled or even tripled as the price of water, diesel, power, public turb wells. And so, like, this supply chain disruption is interrupting stuff across the world, not even just U.S. gas prices. And it is Donald Trump and his volatile mood that has led to this whole conflict. I mean, and all of us having to pay more. And speaking of the rich, let me actually get to this here. While we're talking about the rich, the corruption, let's actually dive into why billionaires pay so much less tax than the rest of us. Let's dive into this. Mother Jones did a good breakdown here. Last week, Jeff Bezos made an unexpected contribution to the debate around taxation in the United States. People went haywire about this. Nevertheless, don't give him an inch. Don't give him credit. Claiming that billionaires like himself pay a lot of tax and that it would be pointless to then ask them to pay more. Yeah. Coming from someone who famously paid zero income tax in 2011 and even received a tax credit from his children, this particularly did not go well. Criticize him. Excessively call him out. But it's not just billionaires like Bezos, with a clear interest in maintaining the status quo, who express this sentiment. There is a common view that the U.S. tax system is progressive, that the super rich must pay a lot of tax and the working class does not contribute to funding its government. That is simply a lie. Think about the tax rate. It is not progressive at all. You have rich people paying, yes, they might pay a little bit more, but not a proportion of their wealth that is equal to other people. No, it is a regressive system where the lowest tier people who make the lowest amounts of money are paying a higher share of their income compared to the rich, wealthy people, which they can then profit off of not paying income tax, not paying corporate tax. And so it's just disgusting. So it's worth looking at what research says on the issue. My colleagues and I have spent several years trying to assemble the most comprehensive estimates, yada, yada, yada. Let's go ahead. This claim is misleading. It captures just one tax, the federal income tax, and ignores all the rest. Payroll taxes, state income taxes, sales taxes, excise duties, which all may be regressive. It takes one comprehensive view of taxation in the United States. Here's the picture that emerges. All social groups pay broadly the same effective tax rate today, around 25% to 30% of income, including all taxes, with billionaires having the lowest tax rate, 24% on average in 2018, now 20%. So this is what we see. Average tax rate by income groups. You see the tax rate is going down for you see the rich here? See the rich here? Yeah, it's fascinating. The rich used to pay way more in tax rate. Now they're paying much lower. Yeah. Working class people significantly contribute to funding American society today. Payroll taxes and consumption taxes absorb a higher fraction of their income. For the middle class, the income tax starts kicking in on top of these. And for the rich, the corporate tax becomes significant. Of course, low-income Americans also receive government transfers. If one of these transfers as a negative tax, which is problematic for the reasons explained in this article, then the tax of the working class falls. But the tax rate of middle class barely changes, no matter how one looks at it. Billionaires pay much less than the average less tax than the average American. The second myth worth dispelling is the notion that the super rich pay a significant amount of tax. The case of Bezos is a good illustration of why this is not the case. Based on the data, it is possible to estimate Bezos' total effective tax rate. The amount of tax he personally pays plus indirectly through Amazon relative to his income, not including the unrealized capital gains. Bezos' effective tax rate was just 15%. In 2018. Meanwhile, the average person in the U.S. pays around 30% of their income in taxes. Hold on, let me make myself a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing. Look at this. Look at this. Jeff Bezos, U.S. federal taxes. This is $43 million. Warren Buffett, also wealthy. Tax him. Paid zero. Jeff Bezos paid zero in corporate tax, payroll tax, consumption tax. All these other things. It's just disgusting. More broadly, if one looks at the 400 wealthiest Americans, research shows that billionaires tend to have low individual income tax rates. They find all of the exploits, all of the little things in the tax code that they can take advantage of. Simply put, the ultra-wealthy can easily structure their wealth so that this wealth will generate little, sometimes even no taxable income. This is why we need to tax billionaires. They find ways to then weasel out of paying taxes. It's disgusting. Hence, no income tax owed. And things are simply getting worse. The effective tax rate of billionaires has fallen sharply after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2018. Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which literally led to the rich getting richer, the poor paying even more. It's disgusting, and people think that's a lie. It's so... Anyway, look at this. The wealth of the 0.00... Hold on, how many zeros is that? 0.00001% of Americans. Percent of U.S. national income. 12% now. The top 1% owns more than half the wealth of this country. That's a problem. That's a national security issue, in my view. Because what if one of those people were to then be compromised by a foreign government? They can control the way the United States functions. With so much power vested in only a few people, and then those people become compromised, something happens to them, their companies. it can greatly destabilize the way that our country's running. It doesn't matter if that person is Republican or Democrat. Like, if you have the top 1% owning more than half the wealth of the country, and then that person is somehow in trouble, jeopardized, it can be a national security risk. Yet people try to normalize this like it's somehow the best way to run a functioning democracy. Democracy is hollow in name only, according to this country. I mean, just look at this. Look at this. This chart shows the evolution of the wealth held by the richest Americans. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Nevertheless, you know, we're all having to pay more because of this. Let me read a couple comments in the chat before I leave. I appreciate every single one of you. Compromised like Trump. Yeah, he is so compromised. Trump is so compromised, y'all. Tax the wealthy. Someone said, WTF, please read slowly. No, it's my stream. Anyway, I do need to get going. I appreciate every single one of you that's in here. Y'all are amazing. I just posted some new videos, so please make sure to go and check those out. Please make sure to go check those out. I love all of you so much. So, I posted a video about Megyn Kelly, so definitely go give that a watch. I posted a video about Trump and the Iran war. We didn't even talk about Iran today. I'm thinking about doing like a comprehensive analysis of all the crazy moments thus far from the Iran war. Like, he has gone through a litany of wild things in this Iran war situation. And I'm thinking about creating a video specifically talking about that. Like, I'll give you a couple examples. At one point, he literally said like death, fire, and fury to an entire nation over this situation. He also then tried to deny that it was a United States missile that bombed an Iranian school. He then also claimed that we don't have money for daycare because we're in war. Also, another thing that Trump said is, I don't care about the financial situation of Americans when it comes to the Iran war. Like, he said some really crazy stuff. And this has only been since February 28th. Like, and also, he kept trying to claim that the war was going to be over 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks, more like 2 months, and it's going to become 2 years. I swear. Anyway, please go and check those out because I posted those videos. I'm still debating on whether or not I want to do a vertical stream or horizontal stream. Nevertheless, I see a lot of you in here voted today for vertical stream, so that's interesting. I may or may not change that. I'm going to constantly be launching a couple polls within the chat during my streams just to kind of assess that. Also, a couple other housekeeping things. I am interested in reacting to other content. So I'm thinking about trying to branch out and maybe react and do gaming content. I'm not quite sure. If you're in here, I would love your opinion. Is there anything that you would like me to watch and react to? Because I'm interested in doing that. Some people say that I have a fun personality. If you don't, whatever. But I'm thinking about creating other content like that. So if you have any recommendations, please put them in the chat. Or also please comment them on my videos. I'm interested to see. Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. This way looks okay, but I'm good with whatever. Which way is this? This is vertical. This is vertical. So I'm not quite sure if I want to change it to then being horizontal. Horizontal is the way that most people do it. Can you play video games? Yeah. I love playing video games. I'm not the best at it. But some people said, Scott, you have a really entertaining personality. You should play games. You would go far. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't even have any sort of consoles, so I have no idea how that would work. But nevertheless, I need to get going because I need to get to work. Y'all are amazing. Please go check out the latest content that I posted on my page. Y'all are incredible. We'll be having more and more as time moves on, but I do need to get going. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here. Cantiguin, Akicha, Ailisa. Y'all are awesome. everyone in here, good friends, and anyone who is trying to be obnoxious. I still appreciate every single one of you. Anyway, just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything or any algorithm ever, 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 ever dim your shine. I love all of you so, so much. Bye!